Long before cities rose from dust or empires carved their names in stone, humans looked up at the night sky and wondered what stories the stars were telling them. The heavens stretched above them like a vast canvas painted with light, unchanging yet eternally moving across the darkness in patterns that seemed almost alive. Not just curiosity drove them to watch the sky, but survival itself, written in the language of celestial motion and seasonal change. What if those first sky watchers could see us now, their distant descendants, still gazing upward with the same ancient wonder burning in our hearts? This is the story of humanity's first astronomers, the ones who had no telescopes or equations, only eyes and minds, hungry to understand the cosmos. Their observations would become the foundation of civilization itself, though they could never have imagined the world their knowledge would help build. 40,000 years ago, the Earth was locked in the grip of the last great ice age, when glaciers ground mountains into valleys and winter never truly ended. Small bands of Homo sapiens wandered across vast steppes and tundra, following herds of mammoth and bison through landscapes carved from ice and stone. The night sky above them blazed with a clarity we can barely imagine today, unpolluted by artificial light, revealing thousands of stars in crystalline perfection. Every evening as darkness fell, they gathered around fires that pushed back the cold, and above them the celestial sphere turned like a great wheel of light. They noticed patterns in the chaos, constellations that returned with the seasons, stars that rose and set in predictable rhythms, like the breathing of the earth itself. The moon waxed and waned in its eternal cycle, marking time in a way their bodies understood, synchronizing with the rhythms of life and fertility. These early astronomers had no written language to record their observations, yet they carried their knowledge in memory, passed down through generations in stories and songs. They learned that certain star patterns appeared when the herds migrated, when plants bore fruit, when the long winter would finally release its grip on the frozen land. The sky became their calendar, their compass, their connection to something vast and eternal that transcended the brief flicker of individual human lives. In the caves of Lascaux, 30,000 years before the pyramids, artists painted not just animals, but also patterns of dots that some scholars believe represent star clusters. Were they mapping the Pleiades, that tight grouping of stars that rises in autumn and signals the turning of seasons across the northern hemisphere? The Pleiades appeared above the horizon when it was time to prepare for winter, to store food, to find shelter from the storms that would soon descend. Stone circles began to rise from the earth, massive monuments aligned with the solstices, marking the sun's journey to its furthest points north and south. Why did they move stones weighing tons, dragging them across miles of rough terrain, unless the sky meant something profound to their understanding of existence? At Stonehenge, 5,000 years ago, the midsummer sun rises directly over the heel stone, flooding the center of the circle with golden light at dawn. This was not mere coincidence, but deliberate design. A temple built to honor the celestial mechanics that governed their agricultural world and spiritual beliefs. The winter solstice marked the sun's death and rebirth, the darkest day, when light itself seemed to surrender before returning stronger with each passing dawn. These moments were sacred, proof that the cosmos followed laws, that chaos could be understood, that humanity was part of something larger than survival alone. The first astronomers noticed that 5 wandering stars moved differently from all the others, traveling across the fixed constellations in mysterious retrograde loops. They called them wanderers, planets in Greek, though they had no concept of worlds orbiting a sun, only lights that refused to follow the rules. Mars glowed red like fire or blood, appearing brighter and dimmer in cycles that seemed to match the rhythms of war and harvest across the seasons. Venus blazed as the morning star and evening star, so brilliant it cast shadows on clear nights, appearing and disappearing in patterns that marked the passage of years. The Babylonians, 5,000 years ago, kept meticulous records on clay tablets, tracking Venus through its 8-year cycle with mathematical precision that still astounds modern scholars. They predicted eclipses, those terrifying moments when the sun or moon was devoured by shadow, events that could shake empires and topple kings from power. Knowledge of the sky became power, and those who could read the heavens became priests, advisors, the keepers of time itself in civilizations built on agricultural cycles. The Egyptians aligned their pyramids to true north with an accuracy that required careful observation of circumpolar stars that never set below the horizon throughout the year. They watched Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, whose heliacal rising just before dawn coincided with the annual flooding of the Nile that brought life to the desert. This was their new year, marked not by arbitrary decree, but by the cosmos itself, by the dance of earth and sun and distant stellar fire. The Maya in Central America built observatories where priests tracked Venus with such precision they calculated its synodic period to within hours of modern measurements. They believed the movements of Venus influenced warfare and agriculture, and they scheduled their most important rituals and battles according to its celestial position in the sky. Their calendar was a masterpiece of astronomical observation, tracking not just the sun and moon, but the longer cycles of Venus and other planetary wanderers. What drove them to such precision? To spend lifetimes watching the sky, when survival demanded constant attention to the immediate dangers of the earthly world below. Perhaps they understood something we have forgotten in our electric age, that we are not separate from the cosmos, but woven into its fabric, like threads in a vast tapestry. The Polynesians navigated thousands of miles of open ocean using only the stars, the waves, the flight of birds, reading the natural world like a book written in motion. They memorized the rising and setting points of hundreds of stars, creating mental maps of the sky that guided them between islands they could not see over the horizon. This was astronomy as survival, as art, as a sacred trust passed from master navigator to apprentice, through years of training under the vast Pacific sky at night. In Australia, Aboriginal peoples maintained astronomical traditions for over 60,000 years, the longest continuous cultural heritage of skywatching on Earth that we know of. They saw the dark spaces between stars as constellations too. The emu in the sky, formed not by stars, but by the dark dust clouds of the Milky Way. Their stories encoded practical information about seasons and animal behavior, wrapped in mythological narratives that made the knowledge memorable across countless generations, without writing. The Chinese recorded supernovae and comets for thousands of years, meticulously noting the appearance of guest stars that blazed briefly before fading back into darkness and mystery. In 1054 CE, they documented a supernova so bright it was visible in daylight for weeks. An explosion we now know created the Crab Nebula that still glows today. These records are invaluable to modern astronomy, providing historical data about cosmic events that occurred long before telescopes or photographic plates could capture the light of distant stars. The Islamic Golden Age produced astronomers who preserved and expanded Greek knowledge, building observatories where they measured the positions of stars with unprecedented accuracy for their time. They named many stars we still use today, names like Betelgeuse and Rigel and Aldebaran, words that echo across centuries from scholars who gazed upward in wonder. They understood that astronomy was not separate from mathematics, from navigation, from the practical needs of determining prayer times and the direction to Mecca across vast distances. Not just practical knowledge, but spiritual yearning drove them to map the heavens, to understand humanity's place in the cosmic order of creation and divine purpose. Every culture that looked up saw different patterns in the same stars, proof that astronomy is as much about human imagination as it is about objective celestial mechanics. The Greeks saw heroes and monsters in the sky, while the Chinese saw emperors and palaces, and the Aboriginal peoples saw ancestral beings walking the song lines of creation. Yet all of them noticed the same fundamental truths: that the sky moves in predictable patterns, that eclipses follow cycles, that the cosmos operates according to discoverable laws. This was humanity's first science, born not in laboratories but around fires under open skies, driven by curiosity and the need to survive in a world governed by seasons. The North Star became a symbol of constancy because it alone seemed fixed, while all other stars wheeled around it through the night in their eternal, circular dance. Sailors used it to navigate. Escaped slaves followed it to freedom. Travelers oriented themselves by its steady light when all other landmarks vanished in darkness or storm. But the North Star has not always been Polaris, and will not always be, because the Earth's axis wobbles slowly over 26,000 years in a cycle called precession. 5,000 years ago, Thuban in the constellation Draco was the pole star, and in 12,000 years, Vega will claim that position in the northern sky. Even the eternal heavens change, though on timescales so vast that human lives pass like heartbeats, too brief to notice the slow drift of celestial coordinates across millennia. The first astronomers could not have known this, yet they sensed the sky's permanence, its reliability, its indifference to human drama playing out beneath its watchful gaze. They saw comets and meteors, those unexpected visitors that streaked across the darkness, and wondered if they were omens, or messages from gods, or simply natural phenomena. Some cultures feared them as harbingers of disaster, while others saw them as celestial celebrations. But all of them watched and remembered and tried to find meaning in the signs. The Leonid meteor shower occurs every November when Earth passes through debris left by Comet Tempel-Tuttle, creating shooting stars that seem to radiate from the constellation Leo. Ancient peoples witnessed these showers too, those same particles burning up in the atmosphere, connecting us across time through the shared experience of cosmic wonder and beauty. When Halley's Comet appeared in 1066, the Bayeux Tapestry recorded it as an omen before the Battle of Hastings, a celestial witness to human history unfolding below. That same comet had appeared every 76 years throughout human history, seen by Babylonians and Greeks and Chinese astronomers who noted its return with careful precision. We are still watching it, still predicting its return, still marveling at this icy visitor from the outer solar system that has witnessed the entire span of recorded civilization. The first sky watchers did not have our equations or our instruments, but they had something equally valuable: patience and attention and reverence for the cosmos above. They spent lifetimes learning the sky's patterns, teaching their children and grandchildren, building a collective knowledge that spanned generations and became the foundation of science itself. Their observations led to agriculture, to navigation, to calendars and timekeeping, the mathematical understanding that eventually revealed the true nature of our cosmic home in space. We owe them more than we can measure, these nameless astronomers who looked up and refused to accept that the lights above were unknowable or random or beyond understanding. They were the first scientists, the first to believe that the universe follows rules, that patterns can be found in apparent chaos, that human minds can comprehend celestial mechanics. Their legacy lives in every observatory, every telescope, every space probe we send to explore the solar system and beyond into the depths of interstellar space and time. Today we know the stars are not lights painted on a celestial sphere, but distant suns, many with their own planets, scattered across vast gulfs of space and time. We know the universe is expanding, that galaxies are rushing away from each other, that the cosmos began in a moment of creation 13.8 billion years ago. We have walked on the moon, sent robots to Mars, and photographed planets around other stars. Achievements that would seem like magic to those first sky watchers long ago. Yet when we look up on a clear night, away from city lights, we see the same stars they saw, shining with the same ancient light across the same vast darkness. The Pleiades still cluster together. Orion still hunts across the winter sky, and the North Star still marks true north for travelers lost in the wilderness of night. We are connected to them through this shared experience of wonder, this looking up and asking why and how, and what does it all mean in the grand scheme of existence. The questions have not changed, only our ability to answer them, to peer deeper into space and time, to understand our place in the cosmic story with greater precision and clarity. We know now that we are made of stardust, that every atom in our bodies was forged in the nuclear furnaces of ancient stars that died before our sun was born. Those first astronomers were literally looking at their own origins when they gazed upward, though they could not have known the profound truth hidden in that simple act of observation. The calcium in their bones, the iron in their blood, the carbon in their cells, all of it came from stellar explosions that seeded the galaxy with heavy elements. We are the universe looking at itself, consciousness emerging from matter to contemplate its own existence, a perspective that would have awed and humbled those ancient sky watchers profoundly. Their observations were the first steps on a journey that continues today, as we build larger telescopes, send spacecraft to the edge of the solar system, and search for life among the stars. We have not lost the wonder they felt, that primal response to the night sky that connects us across millennia to our ancestors who first looked up and asked questions. In our age of artificial light, we have lost the darkness they knew, the sky full of thousands of stars that guided their lives and shaped their understanding of reality. Perhaps we have lost something important in that trade, some connection to the cosmos that they felt more deeply than we do in our illuminated cities and towns. But the sky is still there, waiting for anyone who seeks it out, who drives beyond the light pollution to find a place where the Milky Way still arches overhead like a river of light. In those moments, we can feel what they felt, that mixture of insignificance and connection, that sense of being part of something vast and ancient and ongoing beyond our comprehension. The first skywatchers left us more than knowledge. They left us a tradition, a way of looking at the world that combines practical observation with spiritual wonder and scientific curiosity. They taught us that the universe is knowable, that patient observation reveals patterns, that human intelligence can unravel even the most complex mysteries of existence and cosmic mechanics. They showed us that we belong to the cosmos, not as separate observers, but as participants in a story that began with the Big Bang and continues through us. Every time we look up at the stars, we are continuing their work, asking their questions, feeling their wonder at the vast machinery of the universe turning overhead. We are their descendants, not just genetically, but intellectually and spiritually, carrying forward the torch they lit when they first decided the sky was worth understanding and remembering. The stars they watched are the same stars we see, and the stars our descendants will see millennia from now, unchanging witnesses to the brief flicker of human civilization. In the end, we are all skywatchers, all part of that ancient tradition of looking up and wondering what lies beyond the darkness and the light. And perhaps that is the greatest gift those first astronomers gave us. Not knowledge alone, but the courage to ask questions whose answers might take forever to fully understand.